And so what does your average workday look like then?
Well, it depends. Life is good now. My kids are back at school. So
Hallelujah.
yeah, when I was writing Small Town Monsters, I was also teaching virtual kindergarten. So try doing the virtual kindergarten and virtual fourth grade and getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to write for a couple of hours before school started at 9 o'clock. And I had to make sure my kids sat in front of a computer and didn't get up and pet the cat. So Small Town Monsters was definitely an experience in the working parent finding the minutes wherever they could. I basically worked all weekends through 2020. So all day Saturday and Sundays were my work days. I locked myself in my guest room and would write for 12 hours straight for both days, Saturdays and Sundays. And then Monday would start and I would just have these couple of hours if I woke up super early. And then I had to be, the homeroom mom watching and making sure my kids did school. This year they're back. They're back in school. So this is the first couple of weeks where I actually have a full workday again from 9 to 4. It's amazing. I don't know what to do with my time. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can actually think through the whole chapter and not have to stop, because somebody wants pretzels. So it's been kind of nice. So right now, I've been doing a lot of promo for Small Town Monsters. That has been my primary focus the last couple of months. And now I am plotting my next novel. So I am in that process of dictating into my phone. Typically when I start writing, if it's a day like it is right now where I get full work days, I try to write at least 2,000 words a day, if I can do it. And then usually I'll hit a point around 40% of the way through the book where I'm convinced that it sucks and everything's falling apart and this is terrible and I'm never going to be able to fit this whole plot into 70,000 words. So then I'll take what I call a writing retreat. I'll usually go to one of my relatives' houses when they're on vacation. Thankfully, I have a lot of in-laws who live within just, less than an hour's drive from me. And whenever they go away, I move into their house by myself for 2 to 3 days and just write the entire time until I fix whatever is wrong with the book. And then I can come home and really plow through the end of it because now I've kind of figured out all the problems and the plot holes. And that's been my MO, even going back to Proof of Lies, is when I had time, I would still take these writing retreats. Every single book, I hit that moment of desperation where I'm convinced it's terrible and I need this break to focus and figure it all out. And then I can move on once I have that concentrated straight time to just think.
At this point, does it get any easier because you say, oh, I'm still me, and this is that point that I always reach on every novel, so calm down, it's probably not that bad? Or is it still just panic every time?
It's not panic, it's more frustration, because if you're in the middle and your brain is figuring out the plot hole and why this isn't working, and then the school bus comes, I just get really frustrated that I didn't get to finish that thought process. I'm constantly interrupted. So having those 3 days of uninterrupted time allows me to fix what I need to fix and know that my brain never leaves the story. And I'm in there, and I'm from the minute I wake up to the minute I go to bed, and I can think through without any of those interruptions, without making anyone dinner, without, packing school lunches, and just really plow through it. That just clears my head and fixes the plot for me. So it's not like panic so much as just having that frustration lifted and having that time.
And are you still reading fiction while you're writing?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I used to in my early books when I was writing my first 3 books, the Amor and Summer Secrets series. They are in the first person past tense, and they're in one point of view. And I found if I was reading a book that was in the third person or in the present tense or in multiple points of view, it would screw me up. I would then, sit down to write, and I would have this other tense or this other point of view in my head. And I found it hard to then get back to the first person past tense. That doesn't really affect me anymore. So I think as I've gotten older, I don't find other people's writing affects my own writing as I did in the beginning. So in the very beginning, I wouldn't read any young adult or any contemporary while I was writing it because I was worried it would bleed in or that I would suddenly start writing in the third person, even though that wasn't what the book was in. I don't have that anymore. I think I'm a little more seasoned in that respect. And I do like to stay on top of the trends. I've had multiple agents in my career, and I've learned that it is important to know what's in their slush pile and what's been done a million times. And if you're not reading heavily in your genre, you're not going to have those answers, and it's just going to hurt you in the back end when you go on submission. So it kind of saves you a little bit of time to really stay up on your genre.
Well, I suspect that when I'm reading other authors, they bleed in a little bit to what I'm writing, to which I say, great, help me out. I appreciate the bleeding. Please, by all means, inspire me.
Well, I mean, in some respects, I'll say that the town of Derry, Maine influenced Roaring Creek in the concept that I didn't want to write a possession story, an exorcism story that was just about one character, which is what it typically is, Reagan from The Exorcist, or Emily Rose in The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Usually these movies or books focus on one possessed character. And I wanted to create that creepy town, a whole town where everyone was kind of under the influence of evil. And I can clearly say that, Derry, Maine is a huge inspiration to a ton of horror writers. That is just an iconic town in horror. And so I feel like if it's bleeding in that way, great. I don't feel like that is a danger. Where it's a danger is if it's bleeding in to your sentences. That's a problem. So you got to make sure you're not reading too deeply. But being inspired by somebody's town is not problematic, and can give you a lot of different ways to take your stories.